Hi everybody, and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you so much for being here. You mean the world to me and to Sammy. Let's go ahead and get right into the crafting.
DIY number 1. For this project, I have this bucket. I don't know what you'd even call this. It's a metal tin something that I've had in my stash for a while. I'm honestly not even sure where I got it from, but it is definitely thrifted. And it has a little bit of a glitter all over it, which is sealed in, but yet it's still glitter. So I felt like it might be a little bit bumpy and I wanted to smooth that all out. So I sanded it down and then also wiped it all down with one of my baby wipes, giving it a good couple of coats of Adirondack white chalk paint. And now I am using dry brushing with my celery chalk paint by Waverly. So now I have this awesome tissue paper that I picked up at the dollar store and Dollar Tree, excuse me. And I am using my Mod Podge to apply this to the tin. And I don't know if you can tell, there's a ridge all the way around the tin there between where I'm applying the tissue paper and where that dry brushing technique was. So now I'm using a piece of scrap fabric that I have. This ended up being the perfect length. I thought I might need both of these strips, but I basically wanted to make sure that they were as wide, a little wider than my bucket is tall. So I am using my hot glue and I'm just running a bead along the top of that. I'm doing this right side out. So if you are inside out, I guess you can say, yeah, I said it completely backwards, inside out. So when you're applying it, you want the back side of your fabric to be facing you because we're going to be flipping it over inside the bucket. So hopefully that's making sense. But I pulled that tight. I wanted to overlap those edges a little bit. And now I'm flipping it into the bucket, as I mentioned, and I'm going to create a seam here. And so I'm applying to the fabric some hot glue. I'm flipping over my edge there, and I'm just pressing that down. Now I'm gluing the fabric together. I'm not gluing it to the inside of the metal bucket. You certainly could, but I chose not to. I just am trying to just make sure that my fabric is coming together with a nice seam here. So you can see a little bit better in this shot what I was doing. So once I have that seam done, I'm going to take the rest of it, I'm going to fold it into itself here. And I'm going to create another seam. So the inside of our bucket, basket, whatever you want to call it, is nice and finished. And I ran that glue all the way down and sealed that all the way down. So here I'm tucking that in and our bucket is all set as far as that goes. Now I wanted to apply some ribbon, and this is the color that I wanted to use, but it was a little wide. So I'm actually going to fold it into thirds, and using my hot glue gun, I am just going to make sure that it stays that size all the way down the length of the ribbon that I want to use. So once I have enough to go around my entire bucket, bin, basket, I cut it off, and now I'm just using hot glue to apply it right on that ridge that I was mentioning before. I ran it all the way around the perimeter of my basket. When I got to the end, I thought about right here doing like a little funky bow kind of thing with the end of it, and then I decided it was too bulky and I didn't like the way it was going to stick out. So I trimmed it down, and I'm just going to flip over those edges, or flip under the edges, I should say, and glue that down with some hot glue. And that's it, you guys. I did come back in and just apply a little bit of extra glue here and there where I thought I needed it. But so simple and elegant and pretty. Let me know what you think in the comments. So welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you so much for being here. You all know I adore you. If you are new, my name is Corie and this is Crafted by Corie. I love doing all different kinds of crafts on my channel, always on a budget. I hope that you'll consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell and coming back and visiting me soon. And today's video, I am so excited because this is a collaboration with Chemo from Chemo Craft. If you are not not familiar with Chemo, you need to check him out. He has such a sweet way about him. I love his style. He's got some fantastic projects. Please go and visit him and let him know that I sent you. Give him some love. DIY number 2. For this project, I have this fun little vessel that I picked up at the Habitat for Humanity Restore. And then you can see that that was like $2. And you can see that other little piece I have there from the Goodwill that I had picked up for 99 cents a while back. And I loved this piece because of all those ridges on the outside. It made me think of a beehive. And those have been really popular lately. And I've seen a lot of them in twine. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I'm mixing in my Moon Yellow Folk Art chalk paint to some Mod Podge. And the reason I did that was I wanted to have a nice color, but I wanted it to be translucent. I want to be able to put a candle in here or fairy lights or something and have it light up. So you can kind of see how I've got really good coverage with the yellow, but you can see my hand in there. And so I'm giving it a second coat, and it's still going to allow light to shine through, and it pretty much just glows in the end, and I love it. So I had set that aside to dry. And I have 3 different chenille stems, black, yellow, and white. I'm sure you can imagine what I'm making here, but I'm just taking the end of a paintbrush and wrapping my chenille stems around together so that I can create a couple of little bees. I'm just kind of mushing them together, making sure my ends are sticking into the inside so they're not pokey. And then with the white, I'm doing a little loop to make my little wings for the bee, and I'm just gonna tuck the wings right down inside. You can use hot glue for this. I found I didn't need to because I just squeezed the chenille stems back together and they were good to go. So once my little honey pot is dry, I can go ahead and apply the bees. I'm just using a little bit of hot glue and just placing them around where it's pleasing to my eye and makes my heart happy. So isn't this so sweet? I love this piece. So now I am going to be taking one of those little clippy labels from the Dollar Tree, but I'm also using some of this twine from the Restore. It's a white twine. I picked up the spool for 50 cents. It was awesome. And I started out just tying a simple knot around the top of my jar, but I didn't like the way that that was looking. So I undid that, and ultimately I ended up just tying it the way that you would tie a necktie. So a man's necktie. That's how I tied it. And I loved the way that looked. It ended up looking more like a little bolero knot or a bolero tie, if you know what I'm talking about. And it was exactly the way that I wanted the twine to lay. So it was wonderful. So now I'm going to be taking my apple barrel white acrylic paint, as well as my embossing tool from the Dollar Tree. And I decided to use my embossing tool because I thought I would have a little bit more control than if I were to try to use a brush. Even with fine brushes, I don't have a super steady hand when it comes to writing letters. So I opted for this and it worked well for me. And then I just went ahead and clipped it right onto the front of our little honey pot. I love it. And yes, I misspelled honey on purpose this time. But let me know what you think of this sweet little project. And now it's time for a shout out time out. Adorable Shirley, these got lost in my inbox. So Shirley did send these to me back in Easter. I love them. Beautiful Ellen. Ellen keeps these out year round because she just loves them so much, and I can see why. And very nice Harriet cards and a wreath. And lovely Linda, this Oriental lantern, beautiful. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, please email me at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 3. For this project, I have a little pitcher that I picked up at the Restore for $3, and I gave it a really good cleaning, and then I dropped it into a box and I'm spray painting it white. So I gave it a couple of really good coats of the spray paint, and now I have a Dollar Tree stencil. And I was struggling with this, not because of the stencil. The stencils are awesome, actually, but because of the shape of the pitcher with that curved edge on it. I couldn't get the stencil to lay flat the way I needed it to. So I opted to go with that larger stencil, and I cut it into pieces, hoping I would be able to get it to lay a little bit flatter. And I had more success doing it this way. You just need to be a little patient when you're working with things that have rounded sides to them. Now, if you have any interest in these Dollar Tree stencils, I have some extras and I'm going to be giving them away. So leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite kind of decor is. So do you like farmhouse? Do you like nautical? What is your favorite type of decor? I would love to know. And you'll be entered in my drawing for one of these stencil packs when you leave a comment letting me know about that. So this is the Nantucket blue that I used, and I'm just cleaning it up a little bit. And now I'm going to come in with some of my washi tape, I think they call it, from the Dollar Tree, just to create a clean edge. I added some of the blue around the top, and then I wanted to do the same around the bottom. I was struggling with the tape for the same reason I had been struggling with the stencil. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try a rubber band. I honestly did not know if this was going to work or not, but I went ahead, I put my rubber band on, I just made sure that it was lined up evenly all the way around so I would have a nice straight line, and I went ahead and filled that in with my Nantucket blue. And then once I had let this dry enough, then I went ahead and took off the rubber band. But I definitely recommend letting your paint dry if you're going to try this, because you risk smudging it if you don't. So you kind of saw how I popped the rubber band off there. And look, you guys, it worked beautifully. It was a nice, clean, sharp edge. And I am loving this little picture. I think it's so sweet. And here it is. I love it, and I hope you love it too. DIY number 4. So this is another thrift flip project, because that's what we're doing here today with Chemo. I got each of these, I believe they were $3 and $2 respectively, and I cleaned them up. They are metal cast iron, I think. Maybe not cast iron, wrought iron. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. I don't know. They're metal. And I thought they were really pretty. But I'm just coming in with some of my plaster colored chalk paint, did a dry brush technique on both of them just to make them a little more farmhouse. And these are all from the Dollar Tree. I have these fun jars that I'm going to add the hanging tops to and kind of turn them into lanterns here. This was such a fun and easy project. So you can see how the chains will allow them to hang. Now, my chains are a little bit long for these pieces that I'm trying to hang them from. So I knew I was going to have to kind of jerry rig it a little bit. You can totally clip your chains and reattach them together to make them shorter. It would not be that difficult to do. I wasn't convinced that I was always going to want to hang these on these particular pieces, and so I wanted to have the option of changing it up and having the longer chains on them in the future. So I opted to just use this extra little wire that I have in my stash, and I just twisted it through the chains where I wanted to make it hang from, for lack of a better term. And then I went ahead and just twisted it in so it wouldn't get pokey. And then you can see that I wrapped the excess chain around there as well. So then I took these decorative stones from the Dollar Tree and I just added them in. I ended up just untwisting that because I figured it would be a little bit easier, and I wanted to be able to put a candle in there too. So I just twisted it off. You can see it came off really easily. I used half of this little bag in each of my glass containers. And here they are all set up. I love these so much. Here they are all lit up. Let me know what you think in the comments. And here we are with our final reveal.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. If you have not already subscribed, I hope that you'll consider hitting that button and making sure that you ring that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Please do be sure to go over and visit with Chemo from Chemo Craft. His link is in my description box, and I cannot wait to see what he made. Please let him know that I sent you and give him some love. And to my subscribers, thank you so much. You all mean the world to me. I would not be here without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Take good care. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Who's a good boy? Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you again so much for being here. If you have not already subscribed, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you haven't already, no, I already talked about that. I already said that. Yeah. Let's try it again. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already subscribed, I really hope you'll... Get pumped up. Yeah, boo. Okay.